Weevil, my name is Catherine and you're watching this Catherine channel. Today, as promised, we are starting and finishing our adventures in the end. We'll be defeating the Ender Dragon in this episode, and this particular episode, because it is so long, it is split into two parts. We have preparation and we have exploration. So I will leave the timestamps to both those in the comments below. Now, to start off the episode, we are doing our Wheel of Names as tradition. So for the White Wolf, its name is Gary. Thank you to Potato Ooze for recommending that. I hope I said your name right. And for the Brown Bunny's name, we have Mia. So thank you to Raspberry Doggy 12 for suggesting that name. And now that we have done the Wheel of Names, the first part of today's episode shall start. And this is preparation. Now, our first step to being fully prepared for our adventures in the end is to get as much food as possible. But before we went down the hill and started a killing montage, which you will see soon, we went and said hi to Mia the bunny, who now officially has a name and is no longer the unnamed bunny. Now, we are going to start going down the hill. This is like a sped up version of me trying not to lose too much health on the way. And we went and we started looking for animals. So yeah, please enjoy this killing montage. I'm not sure what to say here, apart from the fact that I was trying to get as many chickens as possible because I wanted to get feathers for arrows. That was like one of my priorities, so I was just really going after chickens, and the other animals were just kind of in the way. But I did need a bunch of food. So after gathering quite a bit of food, it was nighttime, so I took one of the beds from the villagers and I slept in there. I then gathered a few more beds on my way out because I didn't want to be halfway to the end portal and then die and have to restart again. So I wanted to make a few dirt pillars with beds on top. That way I would respawn there instead of back at the house. After returning home, we got all of the food that we had. Too much food, I didn't actually end up using it all, but it's better to be safe than sorry. So we got to cooking that, and then I gathered some dirt because I figured that I would need a block that's very easy to break when trying to get up to these end crystals. So I just chose dirt as my option, and I collected more than 2 stacks of it, which actually wasn't enough in the end, and I had to use end stones. But that's all good. Anyways, here is Gary. Gary says hi. And we put Gary, instead of being right next to the nether portal, we put him in the little house with Nutmeg. But Gary and both Mia and Stella will be getting a home next episode, so please look forward to that. Now, for the next step in our preparations is to do spider hunting. So we made a little dirt hut. We seem to like making dirt huts when it comes to killing mobs. So we made one of those and we made ourselves a door to go on it. After doing that, I decided that it was way too small for my liking, so I expanded it even further and then we added a roof on top. Now, after adding the roof, there was one more problem left to fix in this hut, and that was that there was no light source. So I had to run back all the way to the cottage after figuring out that problem, and we ended up getting the last torch in my chest. Probably will not be getting torches for the rest of the season. Probably won't be going back into the caves. But now that I think of it, we might need to in order to do pet houses. We need a light source for those. But who knows, we might find a way around it. Anyways, by the time we had gotten that torch, the sun was beginning to set. So we got ourselves a bed, put that there, and we got ready to kill some spiders. And the last time we killed a spider was back in episode 2, which was quite a while back. And I don't think we were victorious last time we went up against a spider. So yeah, I didn't really have much experience, and I wasn't very excited about killing spiders either, but it's something that I had to do because I needed string for my bows. So I went up and I attempted to kill them, and it wasn't just me against 2 spiders, it was me against 2 spiders and that weird skeleton thingy. I have a mod pack installed which puts flowers on skeletons and they look all cute. That did not look cute. I'm not sure what that was. Maybe it has something to do with the biome I'm in, which is why it looked different to regular skeletons. But yeah, it was not the nicest looking, and also not very nice because it gave me half a heart left and took the rest of my hearts. I was on my way to get revenge. A creeper blew up part of Nutmeg's house. I wanted to make sure that there wasn't more damage than I thought there was, and thankfully only 2 blocks were broken. and also part of the stone around it was damaged, but not to worry. I was able to fix his little hut, and then I died, because that's quicker than eating all the food I had prepared. And as you can see, you can feel the emotion through the screen. I was not very happy about killing spiders. Did not enjoy it. But after I got the hang of it, and after I kind of figured out how to get them, it was a little easier. But yeah, I would not do it again if I didn't have to. A positive that came with killing spiders, though, was I came into contact with a few lone wolves that would soon become part of Gary's army. They were helping me kill mobs, and they were actually distracting the mobs for me. So I didn't have many skeletons coming after me because they were busy killing them all for me, which is really helpful. So after making sure that they weren't dead and the skeletons didn't end up killing them, and after securing all of my string in a chest so I wouldn't die and lose it, I grabbed some of the bones that I had from all the dead skeletons and I tamed them. And after taming them, I wanted to make sure that they were on full health, so instead of checking their tails to make sure they hadn't lost any hearts, I just fed them. I assumed that they had lost quite a bit of hearts. They hadn't lost any from killing all those skeletons, so yeah, I fed them too much and they gave birth, accidentally. So the army expanded, and it continued to expand a little later on. I did cap it at 4 wolves. I did not feed them after we hit the 4th wolf. And these wolves at the moment, they don't have a name, and I don't think I will plan to name them because they probably will die later on in the season, since I'm going to be using them to help me defeat mobs and I don't want to get too attached to them. But one of them does have a name, and that one is the one with the grey collar, and his name is Salt. The reason I am naming him is because one of my lovely viewers or dreamers that commented didn't get a chance to name a wolf. So because they didn't suggest Gary or Mia and their name suggestions didn't get picked, and considering we had a whole army to choose from, I did end up naming one of them after their suggestions. Now, while I've been yapping, they gave birth again. This was the 4th and final wolf, and I gave this one a blue collar. I gave them all different colors just so I could differentiate the wolves from each other. After putting them all in the hut with Gary and Nutmeg, they will be getting their own house next episode. I will finish building the rest of the pet houses, and we probably won't adopt any more pets after that because I don't want to just keep making pet house episodes. But after doing that, we went and grabbed ourselves some tools for the last step in preparing for the end, and that is to gather as much flint as possible. And to do so, we had to adventure down our little hill that our house rests on and gather some gravel from the water's edge next to the village. Now, the issue with just gathering a small amount of gravel and leaving it in our inventory was that I wasn't gathering much flint from it, so I had to go with a plan B where I gathered all this gravel that wasn't giving me much flint, and then I built up a tower with it and went up and down quite a few times, as you will soon see, and this way I did gather a lot more flint than I did originally. After we got all the flint that one could ever need, I started crafting some of the arrows and the bows that I would need, and after making a few stone swords to go with them, this is the end of our preparations. Let's move on to part 2. It's now a new day, and my voice might sound a little rusty because it is very early in the morning for me at the moment. I have to get this video out in a bit over 2 hours, so I don't really have that much time to warm up my voice and to make sure that it's clear. But I'm hoping that it will warm up by the end of the video, or at least just before we kill the Ender Dragon. Now, I did stop on the way quite a few times just to top up food because I wasn't sure how much I would need, but other than that, I was pretty much just going straight for the end portal. Because I didn't know how many Eyes of Ender would be at the end portal already, I was cautious with how many times I threw these because I didn't want to accidentally shatter too many and be 1 or 2 short when we got there. Thankfully, that didn't end up happening, and we didn't have to do any trips to the Nether again, and hopefully not for the rest of the season. Did I mention that I brought Gary's whole army with me on this expedition? Well, I brought Gary's whole army with me on this expedition. Unfortunately, I had to leave 3 of them behind once I realized that the Eyes of Ender were leading me to water. Not something I was very happy about. I was kind of hoping that the end portal would be maybe in like a cave somewhere, but underwater, yeah, not ideal because I have drowned quite a few times and I'm not great with knowing how long it is before I need to come up. So yeah, not ideal. But we did make it in the end and we did end up leaving some of Gary's army behind and I just took Salt with me. The first thing I stumbled upon my adventure was a shipwreck. I think that's what this is. I've never really stumbled upon one of these before, but it was a good excuse to put down my bed and go to sleep for that night. And then I went to finding out what was in these chests. We did get a few good items. I got some iron and some emeralds, but other than that, I left the rest because it wasn't really that helpful to me at that point in time, and my inventory was pretty much already full. I then continued throwing Eyes of Ender and exploring in whatever direction they took me, and I might put some music over this. I then got to the point where I was throwing ender pearls in front of me, going forward, and then I would throw an ender pearl again and it would land behind me, which meant that the end portal, if I described that correctly, hopefully I did, would be pretty much directly below me. And once I knew this, I dug down right below my boat and made sure I had all of my items just in case I did end up getting lost in the maze. So I brought a shield with me to protect me from all those skeletons, which didn't actually come in handy in the end because there were no skeletons or any mob apart from one silverfish was all I came into contact with. So that was weird. I was kind of expecting to get lost in the maze for hours and have to do this in 2 parts, but considering that didn't happen and considering there weren't any mobs around me, I managed to do this all in 1 part because the hardest bit of the video, which was meant to be this bit, was actually not hard at all. I'm not sure if this is just beginner's luck or something or other, but I was really expecting there to be more mobs and more death, which didn't happen. And I didn't even drown on my way back into, which was weird. And considering I didn't die, I didn't really have an excuse to wait any longer before going into the end. So I got the amount of Eyes of Ender that I would need now that I knew how many I needed, and yeah, I got to work putting these in to the end portal. There were mobs behind me at this point, but I did cover the entranceway with dirt, so they couldn't really get in. And here's me putting in the last few. And I was petrified of going in here, and thankfully it wasn't actually hard. Like, is it concerning that I find the nether harder than the end? Yeah, I was scared. I was in a corner. But it wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. So I did go in the end. And my plan was, because I had 3 bows and a bunch more arrows than I would need. Yeah, I was so scared I stopped the game. I put everything in chests. So if I were to die, then I would have more chests that I could open and I wouldn't lose all of my items and have to restart. I did enable hitboxes because I wanted to make sure that I didn't die to Endermen too many times, considering they weren't even the main boss of the end. So this just meant that I was able to see which direction they were looking at, and the Ender Dragon was also a lot more easier to spot now that she was lit up with the hitboxes. My first thing on my list that I wanted to do was to get rid of the crystals, but after that I didn't really have a plan for how I was going to defeat the Ender Dragon. I had a bow on me, but I didn't think it could reach the height that the Ender Dragon was going. I also didn't have a stone shovel with me at the time because I didn't really think that far in advance. So I had to destroy all of my dirt blocks with my hands, which took quite a while. I was not using the most productive methods, and I was actually dying to Enderman. Yeah. Something I've learned is that I am no match for Enderman, and if one of them tries to attack me, I should just let it kill me because I don't really stand a chance. Something that confused me was every time I spawned in, the chest that I had right next to where I spawned always ended up in my inventory along with everything that was in the chest. Not sure why that was happening. If someone knows, please let me know in the comments. But I did end up moving the chest to stop this from happening more a little later on in the episode. After destroying a few more end crystals with my bow, I came into contact with Ender Dragon magic for the first time. I had seen it in a few videos, but I didn't understand how far it would spread. It almost knocked me off the little platform I was on because of how quickly and how far it spread. But thankfully I was alive and I did not die from Ender Dragon magic. And after destroying a few more crystals, I had to resort to using end stone for my pillars. I could no longer use dirt because I had run out. Yeah. And I also blew myself up. That was a very genius move of me. So I was my own worst enemy. Here is when I realized for the second time that this bow was definitely not reaching the dragon. So instead I waited until it perched, I think is the official term for it, and then I hit it with my sword. Probably not the most efficient way to kill an Ender Dragon, but it did get a few hearts down. After waiting a while between each time the dragon perched, I continued hitting it with my sword, and there were quite a few times where it killed me. Sometimes I died and then I tried to get my stuff back, and then I didn't even have a chance to get my stuff back because it just ended up killing me before I could reach it. Thankfully though, there weren't any times where I lost my stuff. I did always manage to get it back before that timer ran out. And after a few more rounds of waiting and a few more rounds of hitting, this happened. And that is how I defeated my very first Ender Dragon. I hope you enjoyed watching just as much as I enjoyed filming. It has been quite a long week and a bit. I had 5 hours of footage to get through, then I did all of the editing and all the voice recording, and I'm still not feeling my best. But I would do it again in a heartbeat because of how much fun I had. If you did enjoy the video, please consider liking and subscribing if you are new. And the last thing we have left to do is gather all this XP and then gather all of my stuff from the chest. This is Liz Catherine. You have been watching the Liz Catherine channel, and I will see you guys next episode. Goodbye!